What's up, my YouTube fam? Doing a quick little shoot about the Maxamet PM2 that I've been carrying for about 14 days. Today was day 14, and it is all over with. This one's going to Scott Big Boy Williams along with all of these. He, as big of a knife guy as he is, has never owned a Spyderco. And so I'm going to send him a few. He was super interested in this guy, my beat up old Yogi that's missing a body screw right there. I'm sure you'll watch this, Scott, so just know that you did not do that. That has been missing for a while. Got a deep carry pocket clip on it for you so that you can carry it and have it tucked in a little deeper than what they normally are. They usually stick up a little bit, but it's a very narrow, it's a deceiving looking knife when it's in your pocket because you can only see just that little narrow piece that's as narrow as a finger. Then you pull out this hoss. But anyway, so old Big Boy wanted to check out some Spydercos, so I'm sending him a few to play around with. We got the Yojimbo 2. There's not really a good spot to put that. We got the Smock, which I put my darker clip off of my Domino that I bought from Super Steel. I put that darker one. It's that gunmetal color. It's not the black one, even though it kind of looks like it. The lighting in this kitchen sucks, but I'm shooting in here because it's freezing cold outside and my wife's asleep. So old Bama knife wife's napping, so I don't want to be bothering her. But this one's going to him, all of which have hair whittling edges on them, including this bad boy right here, which is what the video is about. I'm also sending him my Techno 1. This one's the S30V model, not the XHP. This is one of the ones they had the Oops run where they had the where they did them in S30V instead of XHP. And then the Techno 2 with the green barrel spacers. I love this little knife. I think Scott's really going to dig these Technos. The Techno 1 I think he'll like the most just because of how thick it is. That blade stock is incredible. Look at the blade stock on that compared to the 2. I really dig it. Both of these are freaking awesome knives. If you haven't handled them, I would highly suggest it. They're fantastic. I absolutely love them. They handle a lot better than they look. When you see how tiny they are, you think, oh man, that's not going to be a very hefty knife, but they're surprisingly comfortable to be as small as they are. I prefer the Techno 1 myself. It's got a little bit, you see how it's got that curvature to it, and this one's a little straighter. I like the curve. It's a little bit longer, and I can actually get all 4 fingers on it. You know, I mean, I'm half fingering it right there, but you can scoot up a little bit if you need to. But even 3-finger knife, you know, even as a 3-finger knife rather, it's super comfortable. I very, very much like it. And it's a thick little guy. So all of these are going to Mr. Big Boy Williams. But the star of the show tonight is the PM2 in Maxamet. Carried this for 2 weeks. I carried it on a relatively stock edge. I didn't reprofile or do anything special. I just kind of hit it on the DMT fine a couple of times just to knock all the roughness off of it and then hit it on a strop. I did not spend a lot of time on it. It's still a very, you know, not well maintained edge. I haven't spent a lot of time on it. You can see here back by the Ricasso there, it's kind of rough looking, and I haven't spent a lot of time on it. I've literally just hit it on the stones a couple of times. I still haven't even fixed the stock edge. You know, Spyderco is known for having edge bevels that are crazy off. You got the lock side here, or clip side, where the locks, whatever you want to call it, that's very wide and dog ears at the tip, and then you got the show side, which is very narrow. That always just, man, I can never wrap my head around how they end up with them that bad. But anyway, I haven't done anything with that. I just sharpened it up. Excuse me. I just sharpened it up just a little on the first go round just so that it would be a usable edge. And about day 6 or 7 in the 14 days of Maxamet, by the way, the Lawn Ranger, I never mentioned him on here. And the Lawn Ranger is an awesome guy. He's a good dude. He's got an awesome Instagram. He's a killer guy. He's a nice guy. And if you don't follow the Lawn Ranger, that's LAWN, like lawn, like you cut your grass. The Lawn Ranger on Instagram, go do that. He's a super cool guy. I really like him a lot. And when I announced that I was going to do the 14 days of Maxamet, he said, I think I'll join you in that. So he did. And but anyway, so I sharpened it up just a little bit past the stock edge and threw a deep carry clip on it so that I could have a better carry option. I'm not really a big fan of the Spyderco spoon clips on the PM2 and the Para 3 and models like that. It just doesn't really, on some of them it doesn't bother me, some of them it does, but it's just not preferred. So on the PM2 I threw that spoon clip on there, but on day one I just I sharpened it up. I didn't spend a ton of time on it. I just kind of refined the scratch pattern a little bit and apexed it well, and then stropped it and got it to something that I would be happy with. Excuse me. And then about day 6, I think, I'd have to go back and check my Instagram, but I think it was around day 6, and I may not have even posted it, but I think around day 6 is when I lost the ability to really cut paper without tearing it. And that was on that stock edge. And even though it's Maxamet, a lot of people think, oh, Maxamet's the hardest steel around, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It still suffers from the same thing, that fatigued steel, that burnt edge. It's well documented. There's still a few people out there that don't believe that it's a real thing, but I can assure you 100% it is very, very real. You can ask Jared, Neve. You can ask Super Steel Steve, you can ask Tom Hosang, Kenny at In the Pocket, you can ask Gerald at Outpost 76. All of these guys, the Lawn Ranger, you can ask him. A lot of these guys are very well versed in fatigue steel and burnt edge, and they can tell you. Caleb Jackson on Instagram, he can tell you about it. All of these guys know what they're talking about. And including myself. I'm not saying I'm a pro when it comes to this stuff, but I know what I'm talking about. I've used enough knives and sharpened enough knives to know that when you purchase a production knife and you use it for a while and then you sharpen it once and then you sharpen it twice, 3, 4, 5 times, the performance and the edge longevity and the edge retention goes up exponentially with every sharpening, until you get to about, from what I've seen with most steels, until you get to about sharpening 4 or 5, and then it kind of maxes out, and that's about where you're at because you're into some good steel. And this has been explained 1,000 times before, so I don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but for the people that don't know what fatigue steel or burnt edge is, I'll give you a rough overview. So most production companies, I would say almost all production knife companies that produce knives in any quantity, custom makers don't suffer from it as much, but some of them still do. But companies that produce knives in large quantities, they use high-speed grinders, belt grinders, and things of that nature to sharpen their knives and lay the bevels in and will sharpen the knives. So what ends up happening, you've got a high-speed belt spinning, which and then you're laying a piece of steel against it. So you've got impact of the grit of the belt making impact with the steel. And then you've also got the heat from the friction that's produced. So you've got impact and you've got heat taking place. And what that does, if anyone knows, if you know anything about steel, you know that heat has a gigantic impact on the steel matrix, meaning like the molecular makeup of the steel. Heat has a gigantic impact on that. So when you heat treat a knife and everything's like you like it, and we've got, say, for instance, we'll use S30V because we've got a few of them laying here. When you heat treat S30V and you got it like you like it and everything's good to go and everything's stable and it's went through its heat treat and it's went through its cooling process and now the steel is what you would consider to be stable, then you go and throw it on the grinder. And that grinder is making... on a small level, it's not like a truck hitting the side of a wall, but on a very small level, you've got these grains on that belt that are making hard impacts against the steel, and then you also have a lot of heat that's added by the friction, and that has an impact on the steel matrix, on the molecular makeup of the steel. So in majority of cases, it changes the way the grain structure looks, and it changes it, everything about it. And in most cases, it becomes much, much, much softer on the edge. I don't think I've heard of any cases where it does anything but just get softer. I don't think it makes it super brittle or anything like that, but it kind of makes it gummy almost. So you got to think about the fact that that's not affecting the steel through and through. It's only a very small maybe a couple hundred thousandths into the steel. So when you're sharpening a knife, you're taking material away. So you're grinding off, or sanding off the outer layers and getting rid of that bad steel, getting rid of that fatigue steel, and you're getting to the good steel in the center. And so that's what I mean when I say fatigue steel. So for the people that don't know, that's what started out and was going to be a very short explanation turned into a very long one that lasted several minutes. I'm sorry about that. But that's just an explanation for the people that don't know. It's every production knife maker has it happen. It's something that just it exists. So sharpening one, I didn't do a whole lot of steel removal. I was just refining so that I could get it to something that would be usable and that I would be okay with carrying. Then on day 6 or so, I believe it was day 6, it got to where it just really wouldn't cut paper very good anymore. And I didn't use it a ton, but I used it a pretty good bit. And I've got everything written down here for Mr. Gerald, Outpost 76. I told him I'd keep track of it because he does the same thing, and I think it's good to compare numbers. I cut up, between days 1 through 6, I cut about 160 feet, and these are rough numbers, about 160 feet of cardboard. I didn't measure every one. I just measured the rough overall size of the box by, how many cuts I made, and it's not exact, but around 160 feet of cardboard. I cut up, I'd say, probably 25 to 30 cuts on 1/2-inch PEX pipe that's about as big around as my thumb, or my index finger roughly. I also cut 12 thick, like the big thick zip ties that are as wide as your pinky and 3 feet long. I also cut up, I don't have that part written down, but I think it was about 5 or 6 plastic packages. I bought some new tools, drill bits, things like that, and I cut up the plastic packages. And when I cut them up, I didn't just open the tool, I actually cut them up into strips. And then on the last day, on day 6, when it got dull, I say dull, it wouldn't shave hair anymore. So that day, I went a little further, and I didn't have my notebook, so I didn't keep track. But I think I cut up about 4 or 5 of those 12-ounce. The 12-ounce can drink 12 packs. I cut up 4 or 5 of those, and then I had 4 big, the big priority mailboxes, the large sizes in the garage, and I cut those up. And then I had 2 medium-sized, kind of like 2 foot by 2 foot cardboard boxes that I cut up. And after I cut those up, it would no longer cut paper without tearing it. It just wasn't cutting very good. So it's hard for me to put all of that into perspective as far as how much footage and inches and any kind of measurements, because some of it I wrote down, some of it I didn't. But I would say between days 1 and 6, I put it through its paces pretty good. And it did fine, I guess, but on day 6, it took a nosedive, and it would no longer shave hair or cut paper without tearing it. It was very difficult. If I sawed back and forth, I could get it to cut, but it was still very ragged. And then day 7, I resharpened fully. I went from a 400 grit to a 600 grit DMT, and then I went back to 4 to 6, and then I believe I even went to my extra fine DMT, which I can't remember exactly the micron or the grit, but I went to the extra fine and then went to some strops, and I did a 3 micron and then a 1 micron on wood, and then finished on a 1 micron on leather. And I was able to get it hair splitting. It took me a little while because it was giving me some trouble. I don't know really what the problem was. It wasn't gummy. I was not really having an issue with burr removal. I think it was more me than it was the steel or the sharpening process, because I've gotten Maxamet hair whittling many times, and I've got videos of me doing that. So I may slap them in right here, but I don't know what the issue was. But so it took me a while to get it hair whittling, but it is hair whittling now. Well, I say that it was hair whittling, and then I used it a pretty decent amount for those next, I'd say, 7 days or so, but not nearly what I did through days 1 through 6. It just happened to be that what I was doing at work over the next week wasn't really as hardcore of cutting stuff as it was. So yesterday, the day before the end, on day 13, I did do the same thing I did on day 6, and I had any cardboard that I had in the house, any food boxes from cooking dinner, any types of cardboard boxes that I had. I even found some random cardboard in my closet. Just anything I could find to cut up, I did cut that up, just to kind of see how it still felt after cutting a bunch of cardboard. And I ended up cutting 225 feet of cardboard, which is about all I had. 225 feet, and at the end of that, it was still hair shaving. And of course, obviously, it would cut paper with no issue, but after 225 feet, and that was about all I had to cut. I didn't plan this out to do a cut test. I just told Gerald that I would keep up with what I did cut. So we moved forward to day 14. I got finished today with it. Cut a few things at work, cut some plastic, cut some roll plastic that you lay down on the ground, stuff I lay down on the ground to keep from getting dirty if I'm having to do something, because I have to go in people's houses and meet with clients. And so I have this roll plastic that's, I think, like 7 or 8 mils thick. I cut a bunch of that up, cut a little bit of cardboard, and at the end of the day, it was still hair shaving sharp, still seemed to be just as sharp as it was the day before. So had no issues there. So that tells me that just on the second edge, I guess we can count the first edge, even though it wasn't a full sharpening or a full reprofiling, but I guess we could still count that. Just on the second edge, I saw what I would consider to be more than double increase in edge retention, and I would keep going with it, but I'm sending that, like I said before, I'm sending that to Scott Big Boy Williams, so he'll have it for a little bit. And then when I do get it back from him, I do plan on doing about a good 30 to 60 days worth of it, and just see, at what edge I see a gigantic increase. But it looks like even just on the second edge, I saw a huge increase. I would only assume that by edges 3 and 4, it's going to get even better than that. But that's it, man. I just wanted to do a quick rundown on the 14 days of Maxamet and let you guys know what I found. I should have done a better job keeping track of it, but I didn't really set this up to be like a cut test. I just kind of was like see what it does and kind of give you an overview is the way I set it up. And then by the end of it, I was kind of wishing that I had kept closer track of everything. And my numbers may be off by a few feet up or down, but it's pretty close. I'd say it's pretty close. And I did, after I got done with it today, I came home and just knocked it on the 600 again, the 600 grit, the fine DMT, and hit it on strop. So it's very, very sharp now. And I'm sure Scott will be more than happy. I don't even have any hair left on my arms after all the sharpening I've been doing here lately, but I'm sure Scott will be very happy with that. You can see there. It's extremely sharp. But yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with it. I haven't really done any cut testing with Maxamet before, so this was the first time for me. I've owned Maxamet, used it, sharpened it plenty of times, but just never really done any testing with it to see how it performed and kept track of it. And I'm pretty pleased. I can only assume that the next edge and the one after that's going to be even better. So I'm opening the door for Scott Big Boy Williams to use this thing however he sees fit. I've already scratched it up, cutting through a bunch of stuff, so you can see the scratches I put on it, cutting through all sorts of crazy stuff at work. And then I did put one nick right there because I was a dum-dum and swiped off the edge of my diamond plate and put a scratch right there that Super Steel Steve has been giving me crap about. Thanks, Steve. I love you too. But then I've scratched it all up using it at work. Anyway, so Scott Big Boy's got the open door to do with it what he wants, as well as the rest of these, as long as he doesn't absolutely destroy them, which if he does, whatever, because he's a good dude and I know he'll replace them. But so Yojimbo 2, Smock, PM2, and Maxamet, S30V, Techno 2, and then S30V, Techno 1, all going to Scott Big Boy Williams, so keep an eye out for that. He's going to be doing a review on all of them. He's got a new channel, Big Bore Knife and Gear. Please go check it out if you have not. And real quick, before we close this one out, we got some Dragon's milk. This is a toast Open it with the PM2. This is a toast to Mr. Big Bore. He is a wonderful friend, great guy. Absolutely love him to death. If any of you guys don't know who I'm talking about, Scott Big Bore Williams on Instagram and Big Bore Knife and Gear on YouTube. Definitely go check him out. I'm telling you, when it comes to people, good-hearted people and good-hearted guys in this knife community, he is one of the ones at the top of my list. He is a wonderful friend and somebody who has definitely made a friend for life when it comes to me. So I love him to death. Scott, this one's for you, buddy. And I'll be getting these knives shipped out to you tomorrow. And I've also got a little gift coming from Mr. Big Bore that I will share with the rest of you guys here in a few days when it gets here. But that is it, guys and gals. Real quick before I go, I've also got a review coming up on this. I got this from Mr. Vinny Nero Knives. It's a Kershaw Knockout. This is not the M390 version. However, I am madly in love with this knife, so I'll be looking for the M390 version here soon. I really, really dig this thing. I love the ergonomics. I love the blade shape. I love how thick it is. And he sent it with a smoking edge on it, so I'm very pleased. I usually don't like assisted knives, but this one's been super fun to play with. But anyway, so yeah, Kershaw Knockout coming up soon. That'll be a video to be looking out for. I'm about to get back in the game, guys. I've been out for a little while, busy with work and stuff, getting back to work after my hip replacement. So it's been kind of tough getting back in the swing of things, but I'm back in it. So that's it, guys and gals. I love you. I'm out.